This man is tearing off his own face. Beneath his face, there it is, a head wrapped in a paper bag.
What did you do to him?
The girl angrily grips the neck of the paper bag man, but in the next moment, the girl feels extremely suffocated. She instinctively pulls off the paper bag from the other person. Under the paper bag, it turns out to be her own face, and the origin of all this stems from a terrible curse. On a stormy night, Nier knocked on James' door. He received information from someone else that James could make people see the souls of the dead. Nier was willing to pay any price, as he only wanted to see his beloved deceased wife again. But James made up his mind not to violate the taboo anymore. There was a special tenant in the basement. She could bring unlimited wealth to people, but she could also push people into the abyss. James wanted to end this nightmare once and for all. He poured gasoline into the basement, but the fire spread to James himself, burning him to death. Shortly after, a lawyer contacted James' daughter, Aerith, to handle matters related to the inheritance. Aerith had a distant relationship with James, so she had no emotional attachment to her father's death. James left behind a property which had several hundred years of history. Its various facilities were severely deteriorated. It would require a huge investment to fully restore it. Therefore, the lawyer advised her to sell it. Aerith didn't know how to handle it, so she contacted her best friend for help to come up with a solution. At night, she slept in the old house. The building was like an elderly person with joint issues. There were creaking sounds everywhere. Aerith could only sleep on the couch. In the middle of the night, she was awakened by an alarm clock. Unable to sleep, Aerith held a flashlight and looked around. Soon, she discovered the locked basement, and right at that moment, a figure appeared behind her. Aerith noticed a person. The other person introduced himself as Nier. He pleaded with Aerith, asking her to take him to the basement to see his wife. After speaking, he pulled out a stack of cash. Aerith didn't understand what the other person was saying. How could your wife be in my basement? However, Aerith still owed a large sum of tuition fees, and now she needed the money from him. But Aerith didn't have the key to the basement, so she asked Nier to come back the next evening. This incident made Aerith decide to keep the property. The lawyer, upon knowing this, produced a document. Aerith signed the paper. This made her the new owner of the house. The lawyer handed over the key and a videotape to Aerith. The videotape was left behind by James. In the evening, her best friend arrived. Aerith told her friend about Nier's situation, yet her friend criticized Aerith for agreeing to this. When midnight struck, Nier appeared on time. Aerith opened the door to the basement. The three of them descended a long staircase. There was a large hole in the basement wall. Other than that, there was nothing. Aerith and her friend wanted to go back to the living room. The next moment, at the broken spot in the brick wall, a woman with a bag over her head crawled out. Nier quickly explained to her that he wanted to see his wife who died last year, but the baghead person walked towards Aerith instead.
Stop! Don't touch me!
It turned out that the baghead person only listened to the homeowner. Aerith asked her to sit in a chair. Nier took the opportunity to make a request. He placed his wife's wedding ring in the baghead person's palm. The baghead person swallowed it. Nier took off the bag from her head, but the person inside was not his wife. It was his mother who had passed away 20 years ago. Nier didn't understand why she had transformed like that, but he still wanted to ask his mother why she had chosen to take her own life back then. Little did they know, before the woman could respond, water suddenly gushed out from behind the hole in the wall. It was because Nier's mother had died by drowning. Then the woman's pupils dilated.
Not until I get a kiss.
The next moment, the woman pounced on Nier. She spat a large puddle of dirty water onto Nier's face. Aerith quickly told the woman to stop. Then she covered the woman's head with the bag. The woman spat out the ring and went back into the hole in the wall. Before leaving, she looked deeply into Aerith's eyes, and Nier wanted to try again. He forgot that the ring was passed down by his mother. That's why the summoning process went wrong. The most important thing is that the conversation must not exceed 2 minutes. Otherwise, the spirits will lose control like what just happened. Aerith was frightened. She needed time to process everything, so Aerith did not agree to summon again. After Nier listened, he put down the remaining payment. If Aerith changed her mind, she could contact him later. After Nier left, Aerith and her friend immediately opened the videotape. From the video content, it was revealed Aerith's name appeared on the property deed. She would become the guardian of the baghead person. As long as Aerith didn't cross the hole in the basement wall, the monster would never be able to harm her. In addition to this, James also warned his daughter, although the baghead person could bring back the dead, the spell could only last for 2 minutes. Once the guests who came here tried it once, they would become trapped in the conversation and unable to escape. The more times they talked to the baghead person, she would become stronger. In order to gain freedom, she would try various means to entice the owner. So Aerith should not think about talking to the dead, as it would allow the baghead person to find a loophole. James told his daughter that the deceased had already left this world. Everyone should let go of their attachments.
And a whole life beyond this godforsaken place.
Her friend felt that something was wrong here. She wanted to take Aerith and leave quickly, but Aerith planned to make one last profit. Once she saved enough money for tuition, she would leave this place. To prevent any accidents, Aerith returned to the basement. She wrote the prohibition words on the steps, commanding the baghead person not to leave the basement. Then she went to talk to Nier, and her friend stayed alone in the house. She used a wine barrel to block the basement door, but suddenly a picture frame on one side fell to the ground. The picture frame contained a photo of two men. It was taken in Friedland in 1972. One of the men was named Otto. He used to be the owner of this property. Otto committed suicide after experiencing a family tragedy. The other man, surprisingly, was the lawyer who helped James handle the will. Her friend closed the computer. She was startled to see the spirit of Otto sitting in front of her. She grabbed the nearby cane for self-defense, but the spirit had already disappeared. Not long after, Aerith returned with Nier. This time, the ritual was very successful. Nier finally reunited with his beloved wife, but before they could exchange a few words, Nier asked his wife if she had cheated on him. He wanted to know who her affair was with. There were only 90 seconds left. His wife refused to answer. Then the timer went off. Car headlights flashed behind the hole in the wall. It meant that the woman died in a car accident. Due to the overtime, the spirit had already lost control. Aerith wanted to cover the spirit with a bag, but the lights in the basement started flickering uncontrollably. Amidst the fluctuating light, Aerith saw the spirit crouching in the corner, so she cautiously approached the spirit with the bag. Suddenly, the spirit revealed a ghostly appearance. It quickly pounced on Aerith. Since the baghead person couldn't attack the contracted owner, she only warned Aerith. They were both prisoners. After driving Nier away, Aerith Saturday alone at the bar, drinking, she saw her father's spirit in the mirror. Aerith saw James using the baghead person, bidding farewell to her mother. He poured gasoline in the basement, dousing the baghead person who has a face like his wife. James wanted to completely destroy this house. Unfortunately, the flames only killed James. The baghead person still found his daughter. Aerith went back to her room to rest. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, Aerith heard her friend calling her, but her friend wasn't in the bedroom. Aerith followed the sound and entered the basement. To her surprise, she saw her father's spirit again. James tried to lure Aerith into the wall hole, but the threads on his face exposed that it was the baghead person impersonating him. Aerith grabbed the baghead person by the throat. She demanded to know what he had done to her father. Little did she know, as Aerith tightened her grip, she also felt suffocated. She ripped off the bag. The baghead person revealed a face identical to Aerith's. The next second, Aerith woke up from her bed. The rope with the key was tightly wrapped around her. Aerith rushed to the bathroom and grabbed scissors, but she didn't have the strength to cut the rope. Fortunately, her friend arrived in time to help. At this moment, both of them were filled with questions. They went to confront the lawyer, yet the person had already left. The situation had spiraled out of control. Her friend wanted to leave as soon as possible, but Aerith didn't want to return to a mundane life. As long as the baghead person was there, she could obtain anything she desired.
I have something for myself. You just want to take it away.
Aerith had lost her sanity at this point. The heartbroken friend left with her luggage, but she didn't give up on saving Aerith. The friend planned to go to the place where the lawyer and Otto took a photo together. The house in the background of the photo had been abandoned for a long time. The walls on the second floor were covered in yellowed papers. The friend put the documents in her backpack and took them away. Meanwhile, Aerith used the baghead person to summon her own father. Through the conversation between father and daughter, it was revealed James deliberately distanced himself from his wife and daughter in order to prevent them from being involved. For all these years, he had tried various methods to leave this place, but James failed every time.
How do I control her? Because I'm still the guardian. She has to listen to me.
James laughed at his daughter's naivety. He asked his daughter if she had noticed that the baghead person was influencing her mind and interfering with her decisions.
You can't control her. You can't kill her. All you can do.
As soon as he finished speaking, the 2-minute time limit was up. Flames ignited on James's body. He kept apologizing to Aerith and warned his daughter not to use the baghead person anymore. Afterwards, Aerith wanted to burn the property deed, but that paper was not afraid of the flames. By the time the friend returned with the information, Aerith had already passed out in the bathroom. The friend couldn't find Aerith. She gathered courage and went to the basement to search. Shortly after, she found a wristwatch on the ground. The friend hurriedly went to examine it. Unexpectedly, the baghead person suddenly appeared from behind. It tore off Otto's notes and stuffed them into its mouth. In the blink of an eye, it transformed into the spirit of Otto. The friend had intended to escape, but the truth was right in front of her. She suppressed her fear and asked Otto questions. Through their conversation, it was revealed 400 years ago, a certain brotherhood discovered a woman who could summon the dead. The brotherhood attempted to misuse her abilities, but they were rejected by her. The brotherhood became furious and exposed the woman as an evil witch. They tied her to a stake and burned her to death. Unexpectedly, the woman came back to life. She unleashed a cruel revenge upon the world. Diseases spread among livestock, crops withered, and plagues spread. The brotherhood, in order to stop her, performed a dark ritual to imprison the woman in the basement. Little did they know, centuries later, the descendants of the brotherhood took the risk of breaking through the wall. They once again abused the woman's abilities, unaware that the more they used the witch, the greater the witch's influence over the brotherhood. Now, as the sole heir, Aerith must find a way to stop the witch's revenge. As soon as the words were spoken, the 2-minute time limit was reached. Otto's pupils dilated rapidly. The friend wanted to escape from the basement, but the door closed tightly behind her. The next day, hungover Aerith finally woke up. She received a distress call from her friend. Aerith hurriedly rushed to the basement, but the voice came from behind the wall hole, and only when Aerith stood outside the wall, the witch dared not harm her. It was clearly a trap. In order to rescue her friend, Aerith chose to venture inside. The underground tomb was very deep. She quickly found her friend following the cries for help. Aerith pulled her friend away. Unexpectedly, they accidentally broke a jar on the way. She carefully surveyed the ground. Ahead lay the lifeless body of her friend, and the friend behind her turned out to be a baghead person. Aerith quickly got up and ran outside. She hurriedly escaped from the wall opening. Coincidentally, Nier arrived. Nier took Aerith back to the room. He gave her to tranquilizer pills. Aerith felt extremely guilty about her friend's death. She made up her mind to seal off the basement, preventing anyone from coming into contact with the witch. Unexpectedly, Aerith suddenly felt dizzy. Nier asked her to go back to the room and rest for a while. When Aerith woke up, she realized it was already dark outside. She felt that Nier's pills were suspicious, so she personally went to the basement. At that moment, Nier was having a conversation with the witch. He deluded himself into becoming her new master. Unfortunately, he was not a descendant of the Brotherhood. His name couldn't be recorded on the property deed. The next moment, the witch transformed into Nier's wife. She explained that she hadn't been unfaithful. Suspicious and doubtful, Nier refused to believe her. He dropped his wife's water. This led to an accident while she was driving. The most important thing is that his wife was already pregnant with their child when the accident happened. Nier felt deeply remorseful after hearing this. However, his wife changed the subject and said that they could still live together, but the condition was that he had to kill Aerith.
I'm not a murderer.
But you did kill me.
Just then, Nier noticed Aerith. He quickly chased after her. Aerith broke free from Nier and ran back to the bedroom. She wanted to call the police. Unfortunately, at a critical moment, her phone ran out of battery. The next moment, Nier broke through the door, but Aerith had already escaped through the window. Nier quickly caught up with her on the rooftop. At this point, he had already lost his sanity. He only wanted to kill Aerith to make up for his wife. Aerith threw roof tiles at Nier. Afterward, she tried to escape down the vertical ladder, but Nier, who arrived in time, pushed her down the stairs. Nier carried the body back to the underground tomb. He used the witch to summon Aerith's spirit. Nier asked her to change the property deed's signature. Nevertheless, the spirit in front of him was not Aerith. Because Nier had already killed the last heir, the witch had already regained her freedom. She transformed into Nier's wife and killed him. The witch meticulously orchestrated everything. At this moment, she finally regained her freedom. She set the basement on fire. The witch left in the blaze. The film ends here. It shares similarities with the plot of Talk to Me. The whole contract was actually advantageous for Aerith. Unfortunately, she became greedy after experiencing success. On the surface, Aerith died because of Nier's greed, but in reality, she died because of her own desires. It also implicated her best friend, as early as when her best friend convinced Aerith to leave. She should have sealed the basement and escaped. The movie is adapted from a popular British short film in 2018. The storyline is more complete. The production is also very refined. Unfortunately, the horror atmosphere is somewhat weak. If you like my channel, please subscribe to it.